Welcome to the Sweep College Baseball Series predictions, where we take 5 series upcoming for this weekend and predict which team is going to win. Now we're on to week 7 of college baseball. Overall, I am 15 and 15 in predictions, and Kevin is 13 and 17. So, not looking like the best spot to be in per se, but I think this just really nails in the fact that we choose tough series to predict, and don't get them all right, but we're gonna turn this thing around. Gotta get hot at some point. But the series this week, super exciting. Starting things off with number 8 LSU going to number 1 overall Arkansas. Both really, really talented squads. But for me personally, I think you just can't look past Arkansas at home in this instance. Their starting pitching is ridiculous. LSU has the talent to compete with it, but hasn't been as consistent with what we've seen overall in this Arkansas squad. And yeah, they're just an absolute buzzsaw right now. So I think they take this series versus LSU.
Yeah, this is tough. Two extremely talented teams, and Arkansas just right now has by far the best pitching staff in the country. For whatever reason, though, this series gives me similar vibes to the Florida Texas A&M series, where Texas A&M just seemed like the safe and for sure pick, but my gut told me Florida for some reason. I didn't go with it. Florida won that series, and I do have a gut inkling that LSU bounces back from 2 straight series losses, somehow takes this one on the road, and I'm going to go with LSU. I'm going to trust my gut this time.
Well, one of us is gonna get it right, so that's 50% chance there. So like the odds better than our overall record combined. So we'll take it. Next up, we have number 7 Virginia going to number 10 Duke. Virginia has looked really, really solid overall, but hasn't faced the best competition. While Duke has faced some pretty tough teams and looked really good to start the year. Has struggled the past few weeks, but I really think this week Duke is able to turn things around. They've been in series where they should have won and weren't able to get the job done, and I think that'll just motivate them even more to put together a complete series against this Virginia team.
Yeah, I also am going to go with Duke here. Once again, like a team that's trying to bounce back and get things on the right track, especially since Duke is at home in this one. Yeah, looks like they should have won the previous series, but just let it slip, and we'll see if they're able to take care of it at home this time.
Yeah, next up, we have number 14 South Carolina going to number 16 Alabama. And I mean, looking at their rankings, this should be a super close matchup. But I think the home field advantage of the SEC, which has proven to be extremely strong, is going to continue to pave its way here. And I'm going to take Alabama in this spot. They've looked pretty solid overall. South Carolina, yeah, looked pretty good. I think maybe they match up a little better uh, with Alabama and being able to take it at home here. But really could go either way. This is definitely a tough one to choose.
Yeah, I mean, with Alabama just getting swept and South Carolina coming off of a series where they just swept Vanderbilt, this just feels like an absolute trap series for me, especially with Bama at home. Everything tells you to pick South Carolina with how things recently went, but I am going to go with Alabama at home. It just feels too easy to pick South Carolina, and we've seen that SEC home field advantage come into play time and time again.
Yeah, we did a similar series last week with Vanderbilt going to South Carolina, where Vanderbilt was extremely hot and South Carolina was struggling recently. And yeah, South Carolina was able to really turn things around and dominate that game. So a similar situation, but maybe the script will be flipped here for South Carolina. And now going into our 4th series is number 13 North Carolina going to number 11 Wake Forest. Wake Forest finally able to right the ship here. Looked decent last week, and North Carolina also had a pretty impressive week after having a down week. So, overall, both these teams coming in relatively hot. I think Wake Forest just has the edge. Also, really, really tight for me to decide between these two teams. But I feel like at some point, Josh Hartle is going to have to figure things out for Wake Forest. And maybe it's this week, but even if it's not, they can always rely on Chase Burns to pretty much guarantee them one win. And then it's just about figuring out a way to get at least one more.
Yeah, I would certainly love to see Hartle put it together and have a good game when he's on. He's one of the best pitchers in the country, and it's just super exciting to watch. But I'm going to go with North Carolina here. I think they've just been a little more consistent. I mean, that's hard to say. Just coming 2 weeks ago, they lost a series to Miami, but Wake Forest, outside of Chase Burns, it's just been really hard to know what you're getting with that pitching staff. And I feel like North Carolina just seems a little more well rounded at this point. And so I'm going to take North Carolina, even though it's on the road.
Yep. And our last series for this week is Texas at Kansas State. Both these teams, maybe in that 25 to 40 range, where they're just looking at the outside of the top 25 right now. And if they put together a few good weeks and have some other teams around them fall back, then they could take advantage and jump into the top 25. I think right now Kansas State is probably a little closer to that than Texas after, I don't know, Texas has just not looked very convincing. We had them in the top 25 for a while, but overall, just not super convinced at what this Texas team can do. And Kansas State, with a team that usually, typically has less talent than a squad like Texas, is providing a little bit more energy and looking the part of a team that maybe could contend for the Big 12 because it seems like it is somewhat of a down year. So I'm going to stick with the home team here as well and go Kansas State.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Kansas State here. I do think they're a little less talented, but have been more consistent up till this point. I just have absolutely no idea what I'm getting from Texas week to week. They pull off that series win at Texas Tech, and then they drop a series to a below average Washington team who is traveling across the country. So you just have no idea what you're getting from them. There's not a lot of consistency on the mound outside of Friday night, and so it's hard to know just what you're going to get from them, and I'm going to go with Kansas State at home.
Well, this week we have 3 series where we chose the same team, so likely at least 2 of those are going to come up on the other end of things, so put your money on those teams there if you want to definitely hit big. But stay tuned for some more series predictions. We'll be going through all that next week once the series have been played out in our weekly podcast. And yeah, be sure to pay attention to that. We have our rankings there as well. And stay tuned for more. Goodbye.